In the debut episode of Off Hollywood, we talk to Christy Marx, creator of the original Jem and The Holograms, and trace her history and diligence in the progression of female representation through comics and animation.
Well, this was something I got somewhere along the way. Up here I have VHS tapes from various shows that I've worked on. There's old Jem VHS tapes, production tapes, Conan, The Sisterhood of Steel. These are all the original issues. Now this box hasn't been opened in a very, very long time. Treasure hunt, and we shall see what we find. This is my one and only Jem doll.
Me and my friends are Jem girls. Jem is my name.
When I was a kid and I was reading comic books, I was desperate for strong female role models because there weren't very many. I loved Lois Lane, but depending on who was writing her, she was either this crazy, neurotic, jealous bitch, or she was a strong, clever reporter. And so it was hard to find the kind of female role models I wanted. I still have some Batman comics in which I took a ballpoint pen and I turned Robin into a girl. And I gave him long hair and a skirt and little boobs. And that was my way of projecting myself into a Batman story. 5th grade, 10 years old, I wrote on there. Why did I write that on there? I don't know. I sort of fell into the entertainment business, but I didn't come to LA to pursue it at first. It took me a while to figure out what my path in life was. I started meeting people in LA who worked in the comic book industry. And I met Roy Thomas, who was editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics at a gathering of fans. And I brought a story that I'd written. I'd written a Conan story, and I told it from the point of view of a woman who becomes involved with Conan. Because all of the Conan stories are just about Conan being the big, strong, sexual, barbarian, and there's always the nubile woman that gets dragged along with him on these adventures and then discarded in the next book, and you never think about them twice. And so I thought, well, okay, wouldn't it be interesting to tell a story from the point of view of one of those women? What's her experience? And that was my first sale in comics. Then a friend of mine said to me, oh, by the way, there's this animation company that wants to make a Fantastic Four series. I called up to Patty Freeling. I got an interview with David DePatie. I walked into his office. He was very nice little gentleman, kind of a short, dapper kind of a guy with this enormous, ornate oak desk. And so we chatted, and he said, have you ever seen an animation script? And I said, no, I haven't. So he pushes the script across the desk to me, and he says, okay, well, that's what an animation script looks like, and I got hired.
Welcome to Marvel Productions near Hollywood, California. This is where we're turning many of your favorite comic book heroes into animated TV shows.
I loved working on anything that was comic book oriented, and I particularly loved Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Iceman.
He did the origin of Firestar story, and Stan and I actually sat down and collaborated quite closely. But that led to this job for G.I. Joe.
Yo, Joe!
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
So I did get a chance to create some background for Scarlet.
In spite of what Cobra has done to them, they certainly won't hurt us.
And I thought it would be a lot of fun, since she's such a tough fighter, that her family, like her father and her brothers, would all be martial artists, and then when Scarlet goes to visit them, you think she's being attacked, but it actually turns out to be her family.
I came here for a workout, but I wasn't expecting anything like that.
Sumbo Production was the animation arm of an ad agency called Griffin Bacall. So Tom Griffin and Joe Bacall were the ad agency that worked with Hasbro.
And it's truly Jem, the most glamorous rock star ever. She's also Jerica, the president of Starlight Music. But only her friends, the holograms, Kimber, Aja, and Shayna, know that Jerica is also Jem. But we're the misfits, our songs are better.
The basic concept behind the doll was created by a man named Bill Sanders. He came up with this concept of the secret identity with the holographic projection. There was criticism that these animation shows were nothing but 30-minute commercials for toys. From our point of view as creators, it was like to make great stories and great animation. When I first got the job, all I had were the product names. And finally, after a great deal of begging, I did get some rather rough Polaroids of the prototype dolls. So I sat down with all of those elements and I researched everything I could about the state of holograms at that time. There was a group of men that were in the forefront of that technology. And so I took their names, Benton, Leith, and Elmsford. So it became Jerica and Kimber Benton, and Shayna Elmsford and Aja Leith. And they said to me, okay, we want to make sure the boys don't change the channel when Jem comes on. So you have to have, fashion and romance and glitter, but it's got to be like, enough action and enough cliffhangers that the boys aren't going to change the channel.
The misfits are taking our stuff! Stop!
You have the good girls, Jem and the Holograms, and then you have these bad girls, the misfits, and they have the holographic projector computer called Synergy.
What are you?
I am Synergy, a holographic computer designed to be the ultimate audio-visual entertainment synthesizer.
And the earrings.
Yes, through them I can create any hologram you desire.
And they've got this car. They get this rock and roadster thing. MTV was very hot. It was new, it was fresh. And so consequently, in order to come up with good ideas for music videos, I spent quite a bit of time watching music videos.
Hey babe, I got my eye on you, and I'm watching your every...
They didn't even want me to have a character do martial arts. If you can't have the same kind of physical action, then there has to be a lot of emotional action. That was one of the reasons I created the triangle between Jem, Jerica, and Rio.
Deception. My life seems like it's nothing but deception.
You have to remember the secret identities are like absolutely a standard part of comic books. The most classic double identity involves someone who is meek becoming someone who is bold. The fun is, well, what do you do with the one character versus the other character? Jerica, who has grown up with foster girls and taking care of foster girls, and now her parents are gone and she's trying to take over her father's business. And then when she becomes Jem, she doesn't have all of that baggage. All she has to do is sing.
Music is magic, cuts through sadness like a knife, wondrous and mystical.
It's fun when you can have a kick-ass character who can actually physically kick ass and be a warrior, but a character can be equally strong in the emotional and mental realm. The thing I like about Jem and Jerica is that she's kick-ass in that she cares about this entire household full of foster girls, or she's kick-ass because she has a musical career or she's a music executive and she's someone who's strong and independent and directs her own life.
Quick, turn around.
Part of my responsibility as a writer, especially when creating animation, is to think about what I'm giving to those kids. How do I introduce them to new thoughts and new ideas? One of the things that happened a lot in animation is that there was good ethnic diversity. In the same way that I tried to identify by turning Robin into a girl in the comics, by having a wide range of these Starlight girls, it meant that all of the little girls out there watching the show had someone to identify with.
Have you seen the trailer for the new film?
Oh yeah, I've seen the trailer. Now, I was not involved. I was not involved at all in the development or in the writing or anything whatsoever. I didn't know about it until a day before they were going to make the actual announcement. that it was going into production. Initially, I was quite upset about it. I was upset about it being excluded, and I was upset because I had been knocking on their door for years, trying to get them to do a reboot of Jem. And I tried and tried, my agent tried, I could not get anyone to meet with me, I couldn't get anyone to talk with me. I was trying everything I could try to bring Jem back, and yet I couldn't seem to get in the door, and that was frustrating to me. The important thing to remember is I don't own Jem. It's a Hasbro franchise. Reboots happen. Reboots happen to every franchise, but it's been astounding to me to see how it's affected people and how people react to it after all of these years. Even though the music is from the 80s and the fashion is from the 80s and the technology, God help us, is from the 80s, but the stories still work, the stories still speak. And that, I think, is what makes it still maintain its longevity. Hi, Jetta.
Can you tell us who Jetta is named after?
Jetta is named after, come here. She's named after Jetta of the Misfits in Jem and The Holograms because she's black-haired and scruffy. She's always scruffy no matter what I do, but she's got a little bit of white. Come here, Jetta. She's got a little bit of white here. Come on, show off.